Ready?
Do whatever you want. Yeah.
Let's put it on record. Oh shit. It's really happening. This hangout on air is live.
Okay, but you know there's always a 3-second delay, so just wait a second.
It's weird that we feel like we can't talk during this time because we're gonna start, but here it goes.
Want people to miss it.
Well, we don't want to jinx anything either.
No, yeah, definitely not.
Okay.
Holy shit, everyone. Do you see us right now? We are on live after an hour of hell. So thank you guys so much for joining us. This is From the Ground Up. Number something. And a lot of people hitting us up and whatnot. But if you're interested in something or you see something that we're working with, feel free to reach out, whether it's on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you may know us or talk to us.
And if you're an IT person, really reach out to us. If you work in IT,
get our shit together. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, if any future shit happens, we can have someone to call.
Yeah, we need to I don't know if we need to get off at Hangouts or we just figured out Hangouts. I feel like, but
no, sorry,
we're dwelling. What are the other things that we say before the podcast? There's links that you can follow in the description of the podcast that you go and shop on Amazon regularly, and we get a little kickback of that, and that supports the podcast. And that is really it on our end. Do you have anything else?
Other than people in the chat saying it dropped. Oh, it said it's back.
Okay. Well, hopefully it's working. But
let's see. Yeah, there it's loading. It's not.
Oh no.
I don't know. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, we're good. All right. Well, now I'm gonna have to edit the podcast now that we did all that. But today's guest is Dave Kaufman. You guys know him from the Herpers trilogy, as well as Dave Kaufman's Reptile Adventure on YouTube. So, Dave, first of all, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure.
And for waiting our technical difficulties. And so if you could if you could just give us a little overview of what you're currently doing, whether it's YouTube channel and snakes, just a little overview.
In the reptile world, it's all about YouTube and it's all about my snake breeding facility. Outside the reptile world, I'm still producing TV shows, and I've got a project that's going on 3 years now. It was supposed to last for 12 months. I want that project finished, but talk about technical difficulties. It's not technical difficulties that we're having with it. I haven't approved it yet because it's not perfect. Mm-hmm. And there's an old saying that art is never finished. It's simply abandoned. I just can't simply abandon this thing. It has to be perfect. So anyway, we keep going back and re-editing, and then the music needs to then be recalibrated to the edits, and it's a lot of work. Plus, doing 2 YouTube channels and uploading 3 times a week, and then figuring out my travel schedule because I now have to travel every month because I'm uploading twice a week on Reptile Adventures. So I need content. I need a lot of content. And so for me to get that content, I need to travel. And I don't have a crew. I'm a one-man band. So every time that I travel to New Caledonia or to Australia or to Peru or to wherever, 100% of that planning is on me. And I need to know, exactly what I'm doing almost every single minute of that trip. And the more you know and the more you plan for these trips, the more money that you can save. You guys just disappeared on me.
No, sorry.
Yeah, we just pressed that. Sorry. We're messing around.
Freaky. All right. So anyway, with all these technical things that we're having, I'm like, did I just lose you guys again?
No.
But anyway, so as I was saying, it's so much work. I mean, I get up at 6 a.m. and I usually go to bed around 1 or 2 in the morning. Almost every single day, because I'm just working on everything, and then I compartmentalize my day so that, in the morning I have my coffee and I go and I answer, all the comments of people that have left comments on the YouTube channels. And once that's done, then I'll do something else, that I have to do. And then on feeding day, when I have to go feed 100 pythons, I'm a one-man band there as well. So yeah, it's just craziness. But one of these days I'm going to be too old to do all of this, and I never want to look back and say, well, if only I did this at 3 a.m. You know, I never want to be like, my whole life is geared towards never wanting to be that old man that is sitting in some rocking chair full of regret of the things that I didn't do when I was capable of doing them. So go, 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 go.
Absolutely. I think that's a big thing that people don't pick up on until it's too late. And I feel like that's something. Yeah. And I want to get so deep into all that stuff, but I'm going to kind of draw back from asking questions about all that stuff because we need to kind of start from the beginning. So
back to childhood.
Yeah. So backtrack a little bit. So when did you get into reptiles, and when did you get into film, and when did those merge together?
All right, so they're two. It's really awesome because film and reptiles dominate my life, and very few people get to have those kind of intersect with each other. So with reptiles, I caught a garter snake when I was 9 years old in my parents' front yard, and now that whole area, because we moved in when it was still all rural, and now it's just Walmarts and Starbucks and apartment complexes, and all, I mean, all of that habitat is just gone. But anyway, so the point is that I caught a garter snake when I was 9 years old, and then shortly after that, we took a family trip to Florida, and we went to Busch Gardens, and I was introduced to corn snakes and Burmese pythons, and snakes that I had only seen in books before, and I was hooked. I was hooked since I was 9, and then you get into high school. And hey, look, there's that, that girl that, you went to school all the time with, but before that she was wearing baggy clothes, and now she's in a mini skirt. Snakes are now taking a back seat to whatever this is. And so, I discovered girls, I discovered music, I discovered film. And so reptiles kind of took, a really back seat to reptiles. And I think the way that I got into film was, when I was however old I was, and I saw Star Wars. And I remember saying to my parents, I'm going to be a filmmaker. And they said, absolutely, no, you're not. And so I think as soon as my parents said that to me, that was my green light to go ahead and become a filmmaker. Of course. But anyway, I did several commercial films that did very, very well, that went out on all over the world through Lionsgate. Did a couple of TV shows, lived in LA for 2 years, went to UCLA Film School. And kind of lived the whole independent film life. And I don't know, like when did I didn't even remember when this happened. All the years are kind of melting together. But when Blockbuster went out, everybody in the independent film world freaked out, and rightfully so, because with Blockbuster dying, so did our careers. So did almost the entire independent film world. It died. And there's a reason why that happened. I can go into specifics if you want, but
go for it.
All right. So what happens is that when you make a movie, you sell that movie to a distributor. That distributor gives you X number of dollars as an MG, which is called minimum guarantee. And that's the money that they pay for the movie. So they give you that money. And they do that because they know that they can go to the Blockbuster system and sell 100,000 DVDs in one sale and recoup that money.
So no matter how bad or good the movie is,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Nope, not at all. And so what happens is that one of the films that we made was we made it for $100,000, and so I sold it to a company called Maverick Entertainment, and then I sold it again to Lionsgate, which handled global distribution. I got all that money back, and I put all that money back in my investors' pockets. And anyway, so to get not too far away from the point, the only reason why they could do that was because of the Blockbuster system, is because they could sell those DVDs directly to Blockbuster. And so when Blockbuster closed their doors, those distributors stopped giving that upfront money. And therefore, I personally couldn't go to, even my investor that was funding all my movies, I couldn't go back to them and say, hey, let's put in $1 million this time, because this time I know that I can sell this movie. I couldn't do that because I knew that any money coming in, I was going to lose, because it would have to go right to the red box. It would have to go right to Netflix. And Netflix doesn't pay anything for distribution. Redbox doesn't pay you anything for distribution. So anyway, the point is that I wanted to go into more, get out of the independent film world and be even more independent, meaning that I knew that I had to distribute my own films if I wanted to continue making them. So that's when I made Herpers. And I knew that if I made a video, or if I made a movie that appealed to Herpers, but yet told non-herpers what we're all about, I knew that would be probably a pretty good sell, and I thankfully was right. So I basically self-distributed herpers, and of course, herpers 2 and then herpers 3. So
is that kind of how you got your introduction back into the industry, or were you already kind of tiptoeing into it?
Say that again.
Was that kind of got into the industry, back into it from, say, when you caught garter snakes when you were a little kid?
Oh, yeah. I am not exactly sure when that happened because, after high school, I caught a bull snake on a camping trip, and that, relaunched me into a love of reptiles. And I remember back in the 90s, I got a pair of imported ball pythons in, and I called everybody that I know and asked them, how do you breed ball pythons? And everybody said, well, why do you want to breed a ball python? They're a junk snake. Nobody's going to buy a ball python. And now those people that I asked back in the 90s are some of the biggest ball python breeders out there right now.
Of course.
It's pretty funny how, before the craze, what life was like. But I think that there just got to be a point to where, before the ball python craze, nobody was really making a living breeding snakes. It was a hobby. And so I basically then went back into the film world to earn a living and then keep the snakes as a hobby. And as I did that right as the craze was happening. I sold all my snakes and I moved to LA just as the ball python craze was happening. So I missed all of it. I missed all of it to go to LA. And then when I came back from LA, I was in the film industry and I maybe had a corn snake or I had a king snake or whatever. I just couldn't work and keep all the snakes that I wanted to keep. And then I finally got back into it, and I went to Tinley maybe 10, 11, 12 years ago now. And that's when I was filming herpers, actually. So it was probably 10 years ago now. And I saw all these ball pythons that I've never seen before. And so I started talking to people about it. And even 10 years ago, I was kind of too late to get into it to make any kind of serious money. And there's still money to be made in the ball python world, but you just have to do it differently than you did 10 years ago. So yeah, it was kind of a weird trade-off. I mean, the timing just was suckful on that because I was in reptiles and breeding ball pythons long before the craze, but then I got out of it just as the craze was happening and, kind of lost out. But, it is what it is.
Yeah, but there was that infrastructure for you to make a film on, as far as you had the Mark Mandix
exactly
or the Brian Barczaks or all these people that built up during that time.
Right.
And now you weren't, how'd you get the confidence to do it? Because a lot of people say there's no money in like documentary type filmmaking. As well as it's about snakes also. So
Yeah.
How do you make that a good, worthwhile investment of your time?
Oh, that's a good question. I am so not driven by money. I just, I need money to eat. I need money to pay rent. I need money to produce videos. You need money. But I live such a minimalist lifestyle. I'm not an extravagant spender. I don't buy things that I don't need, that sort of thing. So when I went into these films, I didn't go into them thinking, wow, I'm going to get rich off of this. I went into them thinking, I want to make the best film that I possibly can. And if the money follows, great. If not, as long as my investors get their money back and they continue to invest in another film and, keep my career going, great. That's what I was after. I wasn't after the money. I was after making something that I was proud of and making something that, in 30 years I can watch and say, wow, Dave, good job.
If anything, you have a timestamp of that's a cool thing, I guess, about filmmaking is that you have a timestamp of your whole career or things that you were doing at that time, and YouTube as well.
Right. But what's funny about me is once I finish a project, I will never go back and watch it again. Not even my videos on YouTube.
Wow.
Yeah.
Me either.
I will never. I think that my horror film 13 Hours in a Warehouse. I think I've watched that once since I finished it. Once Lionsgate had it and it was out on DVD. I think I've watched it once since then.
Don't you have to go to like openings or show it to you? Of
course. Yeah. And that's why I sit
in the room.
Oh, that's why I sit in the back so nobody can see me leave during my own movie. So
what drove you from Herpers 1? What gave you the idea to be like, hey, let's make multiple of these things? Was it success, or was it support from the community, or what made you crazy
both
enough
of those
basically to make?
Yeah, both of those actually. The support from the community was enormous. I just had so much fun traveling around, going to Reptile Expo after Reptile Expo, meeting new people, and basically selling the DVDs and moving on to the next one, and doing what's called a film tour. And I had so much fun doing it that I wanted to keep it going. And plus, when you sit down and create the script, or in a documentary, it's called a treatment. You have so many ideas that can't possibly fit into one movie. So after I finished Herpers, I had all these ideas, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna, we were watching to see what was going to happen with the Netflix thing. We were watching to see what was going to happen with the Blockbuster thing. And so I really wanted to take some of those ideas and make another movie. The Herpers movies aren't cheap to make. And thankfully I had a really good investor who really doesn't like snakes. So that was weird. It was actually, 1 and 2 was actually funded by one of the investors in 13 hours. And then part 3 was actually crowdfunded. So I did something a little bit different with that. And then the reason why I had that one crowdfunded was I was working on yet another movie with this investor, with Louis Anderson and Kevin Nealon. I got to get that one out too. I got to find some time in my busy schedule to finish that movie, but I will. But anyway, so that's kind of that. I forgot your question.
Don't worry, I don't remember it either. So, I mean, I've tried not to go too deep in the rabbit hole with the filmmaking, because obviously it's a Reptile podcast, but I do kind of want to ask how you, very selfishly, how you approach investors or anyone with an idea for your film, especially something like Herpers.
That is so hard. It is the hardest part to do.
And you don't live in LA. At least you don't now.
I don't live in LA. I loved LA. I lived in Venice Beach, but I'm a Minnesota boy. I love my lakes. I love my trees. I love my moose. And I was homesick from the time that I moved there till the time I actually came back here to Minnesota. But fundraising is the most difficult process there is. You can only do so much without an exorbitant amount of money to do these films. And it's paying dues. I mean, it took me the better part of 10 years to fund one movie. And it's just a matter of getting out there and networking and talking to people and sharing your idea. Am I boring her?
Yeah. No, a fly just fell into her wine and died. So that's it's a better story.
No, but it is the hardest part. It's all about networking, and you set up meetings with investors, and if they don't, write you a check, it's called, what do they call that? Pay or squeal or something like that. Where if they don't give you a check, they have to give up 5 of their friends who they think might be interested in. And so it's tons of phone calls, and it is 99.9% rejection. And I think that it's at that point that people give up, because the rejection, it's debilitating. But it's the successful people that get through that and say, okay, I believe in what I'm doing. I believe in my projects, and battle on.
And is it that? There you go. Is it that first success though, or that first film that you made? Was that the hardest one to get? And then after that, it kind of loosened.
You'd think so, but it wasn't. It wasn't. And I always had to beg for my dinner. Even with the same investor, I had to do the dog and pony show. And even after they got all their money back from 13 hours, even after they got all their money back from Herpers, and I went to them with Herpers 2, I still had to do the dog and pony show with them. And now that investor, she made some very bad investments, and she's unable to invest in anything more of mine. And she even sat me down one day and she said, "It does sense that the independent filmmaker is the only one of my investments paying me a dividend." So
yeah, that's the one you expect to lose, I think.
Yeah, she lost a lot of money at a lot of. Don't buy a bar And if you're going to buy a bar, don't buy 4 of them.
Whoa.
So yeah.
If you're gonna do it well.
They turned into big 4 money pits, and then she bought 2 racehorses, and yeah,
baller.
Anyway, it is what it is. But yeah, so they're unable to fund another fit, and that's really why I kind of went into YouTube, because with YouTube, I can control everything. I don't need tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars to do YouTube. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy the solitude of sitting here in my studio and editing. I enjoy getting out into the wild and actually finding these animals. There's nothing fake in my YouTube, videos. Thankfully, I haven't started a video where we go out and try to find something and haven't found it. There's been some close calls, like the Eastern Diamondback rattlesnake video. But they're all real. I mean, they're all real. I don't feel the need to kind of, do all these kind of tricks and whatever just to get views. The size of my channel right now, I think it's pretty comfortable for where I'm at.
Mm-hmm. So now I guess shifting to YouTube, once again, this is going to be so fucking selfish, because I feel like we're, in the same game. And while I have you here, and other people are probably interested,
I'm just waiting for us to talk about snakes so I can ask the question. I'm like, I don't have any YouTube or movie questions.
All right, we've only been talking about film for 17 minutes, so let's talk about film for another 2.5 hours, and then.
But on YouTube, do you find, because there's obviously a much different, you've been doing the same project for 3 years in a more professional project, but on YouTube, you're expected to create a new video every week, if not multiple times a week.
I upload twice a week on the Reptile Adventures, so yeah.
So how do you manage your perfectionism, your creativity, all that stuff? Because sometimes, meaning like this week for me, I don't want anything to do with fucking YouTube.
Oh yeah. I have days like that every single day, and there's videos that I cut together and I'll watch and I'll be like, I'm not happy with this video.
That's the worst.
But TikTok, I've got to upload. I've got to stay on my schedule for my, I made a commitment to my sponsors, and I'm going to, whatever it takes, I'm going to keep that commitment to my sponsors. But yeah, there's videos that I've uploaded that I'm like, this is crap, and then it gets 50,000 views. And then there's videos that I'm really excited about that I'm like, wow, this turned out fantastic. And I don't even get 2,000 views on that. So
I feel like I squander my opportunity because I know that I put out a subpar video, and that's the one that got 200K. Yeah. And I'm like, if it was the best one, everyone would fucking love me by now.
That's right. Yeah. So YouTube is this very, very strange animal that sometimes I want to put out of its misery, but yeah. We can talk about that if you want.
So how do you deal with the fact that you're expected to upload and everything like that, but also with, negativity that comes back, and also you kind of compare yourself to other people doing, and you're like, well, I could do that, but you come to it at a tasteful angle. You don't take any shortcuts. So how do you station in that respect? Well,
first of all, I never compare myself to anybody but myself. I compare my videos to my old videos. Are they getting better? Are they getting worse? And if they're getting worse, then you have to make them better. I don't compare myself to any other YouTuber out there. I don't compare myself to any other filmmaker out there, because there are YouTubers out there that are doing much, much, much better than I am. There are YouTubers out there that have started within the past year and now have 200,000 subscribers. And did they hit the algorithm? Are they making great videos? Is it a combination of all of it? Probably, but whatever that is, if you compare yourself to somebody whose channel is skyrocketed, all that's going to do is lead on depression. And I don't, I don't want to think badly of anybody. I don't want to have bad thoughts about anybody. So I never compare myself to other YouTubers or to other filmmakers. I only compare myself to myself. And of course, now I just went off on a tangent and I forgot the second part of your question, which is going to happen a lot.
How do you
between
deal with
the two of us?
How do you deal with negative comments?
Negative comments. This is the thing. This is the beauty of my channel, is that I don't get a lot of negative comments on that. I get a lot of constructive criticism of what my fans want to see different, but I don't get a lot of negative comments. I got one today where it was on the one from Peru, and some asshole out in the world said, you know, you should treat bushmasters like Muslim pigs, chop their heads off.
Whoa.
And
both ways.
Yeah. And so every once in a while you get, you know, trolls like that. And I simply wrote him back and I said, tell me something. How does it feel to be a complete asshole? And, you know, I mean, they're trolls. And eventually I'm just gonna, you know, delete the comment. But seriously, I don't get a lot of negative comments on Reptile Adventures, and I really love my fan base because of that. On the vlog channel, you know, the vlog channel, I do more universal videos that appeal to a wider audience. So when you have that happen, yeah, I get tons of really nasty comments. One of my videos on the vlog channel went viral and has like 2 million views. And I'm constantly policing the comments, you know, just deleting all these asshole comments. But it comes with the territory. And, you know, if you really have to be strong. You have to be, you know, strong interior to kind of have a shield between you and all the negativity that's going to come back at you. And, you know, there's times where I sit there and think, all right, my views are in the toilet. People aren't responding to me. People don't like me. Maybe I should quit. I mean, this is a common thought of mine. You just keep going. I mean, that's why I keep saying rattle on, because when things get bad, you know, you just rattle on, just keep going, keep doing what you're doing, stay true to yourself and keep going. And, you know, have that little, you know, shield that's going to really shield you from all the negativity that flies back at you. So,
and that's something that we talk about all the time, is just like, be patient, keep on going.
Right.
Don't care, you know, what's going on. Just know that somewhere down the line, you know, you're going to be further ahead than you are right now. I definitely had a question. What was your question, though?
Mine is more of a comment, just saying, like, the nice thing about what Dave does is there's always going to be another place to herp. Like, there's always going to be something new to find, some new place to look. And so that, I assume, keeps it a little bit fresh.
Well,
for
let
you.
me go to the other side, because
we'll let you cut me off.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
That's really what you're saying.
But the thing is that I try not to make it all obviously the animals that I keep videos, but a lot of YouTubers are doing the animals that you have in your room, so they buy like animals every week to make a new video or something. I don't do that, so it's hard for me to make videos of what I have. But I try to herp also to make up for some of that.
Oh my
God.
But we literally have, my nose is bleeding.
What the hell is going on here? This is a
her nose is bleeding?
This is a haunted podcast.
Oh my, wow. Wow. I have made a horror film before.
Yeah.
No.
He's only cried once on the podcast, and the nosebleed is a new one now.
Oh, jeez. What, is the air really dry in Texas right now?
Apparently.
Damn. That's wow. I hope she's okay.
But what I wanted to say is that videos that you make take longer to edit and film, but the like pet tuber type of ones where it's talking head with the take a day.
Yeah.
Which is why, you know.
Yeah, and I watch a lot of pet tubers, you know. Emily from Snake Discovery is a very good friend. Emma, of course, is a very good friend, Emma Locke. And, you know, I watch what they do, and I'm like, are you all right?
What? I don't have my earphones in yet. My nose is bleeding.
Wow. That's so, I've never even seen you.
Wow, that's really random. Damn.
That's why I put this. Everyone who's watching can only see
this. This is an audio disaster for the people who download.
All right, I hope that stops.
She won't die. I got that.
Yeah, death by nosebleed. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. What were we talking about?
So pet tubers.
Pet tubers, yeah. So, you know, because I travel so much, I can't have the multitudes of animals that I once had. And I really have to have animals that really don't miss me if I leave. And so really I've got tons of ball pythons and I've got bull snakes, and that's it. And so, you know, I got, oh boy, my phone's going to die. Stand by.
Oh my God.
I think I have an iPhone charger somewhere here. If you want.
This is just silliness. All right, hang on. I'm gonna plug this bad boy in, and then I'm gonna plug this bad boy in.
I swear we knew the podcast was happening today.
All right, hang on.
Be prepared.
Does that work? Are we back?
I haven't had this weed in years.
Oh, and then I get this notification that it's charging slowly.
Perfect. That will do.
Is that like? How come half of me is cut off? Hang on. Stand by, everybody.
You look full to us.
Okay. All right. Good. That's like balancing on the cord right now. So we're just going to have to. We got 15% left here, guys. All right. So what the hell were we talking about again?
We're still on pet tubers, but we've.
Tubers. Yes. All right. Pet tubers. Yes. And okay. So we're going to just fast forward.
You were talking about your collection at this point.
Yeah. I can't have anything that misses me. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here we go. So, I'm doing a little bit more of that type of video with, the ball pythons that are hatching out around here and things like that. But I just, pet tubers, they have their niche. And I'm not a pet tuber. I want to show what these animals are doing in the wild. I want to show, people, reptiles from the wild that they'd never even heard of before. And so that's my thing. And I think that if I was a straight pet tuber, yeah, the channel would be, probably over 100,000 right now. That is but pet tubers have a very young audience, and I don't think that, I, being, 62 years old, is going to, why is that funny?
You look really good for 62.
I don't think that me at my accelerated age is going to appeal to, 14-year-old kids. I hope so. I mean, I'd like that, but I'd like them to watch my videos. That's
weird if you do want to appeal. I mean, there are those people.
Oh, but I feel the same way. What I'm saying. I don't want to if you're 14 and you love reptiles and you love my channel, fantastic. I'm happy to have you as a fan. But I think that I just have an older audience, and I can, I look at my demography. I do know that I have, a somewhat older audience than some of the pet tubers do, and that's what I mean. Is that because I have that older audience, the older audience wants something more than just a cell phone of, hey, look at my leopard gecko. That's what I'm saying. So I want to kind of do a little bit more with my channel.
Right.
So that was the most convoluted answer I've ever given.
I don't even know what the question
was.
That
was the most awkward answer I've ever given in an interview before.
Is like YouTuber or pet tuber, is that derogatory in any sense?
No,
Would you want to be called a filmmaker, or do you care which one?
No, because you know what? It's all about YouTube now. YouTube, Netflix, they've taken over. And pretty soon, Amazon is about to launch OpenTube. And it's a direct competitor to YouTube.
Wow.
And so YouTube is a lot of people disagree with me, but I think YouTube is about to go the way of MySpace.
Well, in the way, they're just not supporting what their whole base, which is creators.
No.
If you go to the trending page, it's Fox. It's like American Idol or something.
Absolutely. People don't want to go to YouTube to watch network television, and they can't get through their heads.
That's why YouTube fucking exists, to get rid of the networks.
That's right. That's exactly right. So if OpenTube listens to the complaints that the creators have about YouTube and actually creates a platform that addresses the complaints that YouTubers have, YouTube is going the way of MySpace as soon as OpenTube comes along. If they listen to, but I'm talking to tons and tons of YouTubers. I talk to my, other reptile YouTubers every single day, and we all talk about the exact same thing. Ever since the adpocalypse, which is where all the, the major advertisers pulled out of YouTube, 6 months ago, YouTube has been crashing, and they made all of us creators pay for that. And it's a disaster. My views and, even other YouTubers' views are just not even 10% of what they were even 6 months ago. And then, the CEO of YouTube, sends out these here's what's happening at YouTube. And none of it addresses the issues that creators are screaming about. So
it's not like you get that one-on-one interaction as you or me.
Right.
You have to be a Logan Paul or some dipwit.
But even then, Casey Neistat is yelling at YouTube to change stuff, and they're not even. PewDiePie was bitching about that you have to now hit the bell. That nobody hits the bell, and if you don't hit the bell, then your subscribers aren't going to know that you even uploaded. And so even PewDiePie was bitching about that, and YouTube has done nothing to change anything. Mm-hmm. So it is what it is. It's a platform that gives us all a voice, and there's a lot of positive coming out of YouTube. But at this point, a lot of us are suffering. My videos used to get 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 views. My last 2 videos haven't gotten 2,000 views. It has nothing to do with the quality.
Yeah, even when I had a small channel, I would put out a video and it had the possibility of the algorithm picking it up.
Yeah.
And for some reason now I don't get that pickup off a search and stuff like that. I don't know if they cater towards larger creators or
Right. Well, if you made a video where you stuck your dick in a snapping turtle's mouth, bam, 7 million views. And that's really the garbage that's getting the views on YouTube, and it's frustrating to watch. So
your favorite person, Brandon Fowler, said his kids are watching, so watch the language. Also, sorry I sound like this. I'm holding paper towel to my nose.
What's up, little Brandon?
Don't do things with snapping turtles.
Yeah. Don't stick your thumb is what I said. Your thumb. I'm surprised Brandon isn't calling me right now and going, dude.
Yeah, I think that's an unfortunate thing about society as a whole, right? But we don't want to get too far into that. But
I kind of gotta realize that kids are watching. But I heard you do some swears, so I was like, hey, I'm gonna join this bandwagon.
Oh yeah, I don't really hold back very often.
Let's talk
only because it's Brandon.
Let's talk about
Okay, so let's get into why do you like bull snakes in particular?
Because a bull snake was the first snake that I caught on that camping trip, which reinvigorated my childhood love of snakes.
And I mean, bull snakes are not a very popular snake amongst hobbyists as far as there's a bunch of morphs, but there's a select few that are into it. So how have you passed that? Because most people caught garter snakes or even caught rat snakes or stuff, but they don't keep them. They end up going the way of exotics,
Yeah.
So interesting.
There's a lot of Pituophis fans out there, a lot of them. And I sell out of my bull snakes faster than I sell out of my ball pythons every year. They're big, but it's not like if you've kept corn snakes or king snakes or whatever, a bull snake is a completely different snake. They need bigger enclosures. They're messy. They finger paint with their poop. They think that the water dish is a toilet and use it as such. So the maintenance on any Pituophis is you got to be Johnny on the spot. It's not it's not weekly cleanings. It's daily cleanings. Sometimes it's bi-weekly cleanings. And when you have however many 20 of them, whatever I have out there, it's a lot of work, and it's a lot more work than just your typical corn snake or whatever. But they're big and they're beefy and they're gorgeous and they're just really awesome animals. And when you have ball pythons like I do, inevitably every single week somebody's not going to eat. And so I want right. And so I want the bull snakes there because they're my garbage cans. You can overfeed them. Of course you can overfeed them, but if they get an extra rat or two a week, they're going to be happy. They're not going to regurgitate like a, like maybe a corn snake or a king snake would. So, but
so now let's go over a little bit of what you have as far, because I know you have some morphs and some projects you're working on with bulls.
Yeah.
So what do you have?
So what do I, oh geez. I have a lot of multiple hets. So I get a lot of different morphs out of the same 2 snakes. But I'm really into the red stuff and I'm really into the albino stuff. So red albinos are my favorites. And now what I want to do is I want to take, Stillwater hypo, and I want to take white-sided, and I want to take patternless and get them into that red albino gene. So that's kind of the projects that I'm working on right now.
So does that mean you just basically want the most red? I think most red bull snake.
Guys, I'm not even joking. My nose started bleeding.
No, you're lying.
No, I'm not.
I swear.
You're lying.
I am not even joking. I got nothing. I got nothing to wipe it off with.
This is a fucking horror movie. Sorry, Brandon, but
this is weird. Hang on. I'll be right back.
This is not right. There's no way.
I don't even want to. Mine is still bleeding.
Okay. I'm back. That
we can't.
is totally insane.
Wow. Good looking bunch.
What is happening? So we couldn't get the system to work. We had to like reset and upload and now we're having like 2 bloody noses.
Borderline satanic, I would say.
I don't know what's happening here. I'm not even going to show this to you.
But who do I put on the screen? Your blood or my blood? Like I don't know.
All right, I think I'm okay now.
Just move that.
Mine was a little one.
Mine is still going.
Holy crap!
Wild.
It's still bleeding.
Damn. All right.
All right. So bull snakes. So go over.
I really like the blood pythons. Oh man, that's insane.
So now you have your like Kingsvilles and your Stillwaters and stuff like that. So Kingsville, that's locality that happens to be more red, and then Stillwater's an actual mutation.
Stillwater is a mutation. It's a recessive mutation. It's hypo, or I don't think it's hypo, but that's a different story altogether. I think it's actually a pattern mutation that they erroneously called hypo. But Kingsville red and Crumbly red are the 2 red lines that are out there, but I don't think that they exist any longer. I think that there's been so many, people breeding this and this and calling it this and calling it that I don't think that anybody can trace the red lines back to the original Kingsville red or to the original Crumbly. Even though they say they can, I can't imagine that they can. So seriously. I go for that blood red color. Bull snakes. This is absolutely insane. Guys, I'm afraid of you 2.
I don't know what it is.
What kind of evil spirits do you have coming through here into my room right now?
Clearly.
This is insane.
The red.
Yeah, we were talking shit on YouTube.
And they're getting back at us.
Wait a minute. YouTube, listen to us.
Yes, Big Brother is watching. I have 5,000 subscribers. They're really watching. They care.
Ooh, man. All right, I think I'm good. I can like that alkaline taste of blood in the back of your throat. That's really kind of disgusting.
So
if I die tomorrow, whatever.
No, you're gonna get a bloody nose in about 3 minutes here.
I have never had one in my life, I don't think, besides getting punched in the face. But that was asked for, I think.
Oh, that's insane. Anyway. So moving on.
As far as bulls, you kind of hit on that they get a little bit bigger than your normal snakes, so or than your normal ball python corn snake.
Yeah.
So what are you keeping your adult males and females in?
Cardboard boxes that I buy my shoes in. They really work well. They're about yay high by. No.
You put a He-Rock in there and call it a day.
You should really have like a 2 foot by 3 foot by 2 foot enclosure for them. They move around a lot. You can keep young ones in CB70s, but they do need a lot of space. Mm-hmm. So one of these days, I did make a bull snake video, but I didn't show the cages in that video simply because they're in another location and the lighting in there just really sucked. So I chose to bring them into the room that had the better lighting. And one day I'm gonna do another bull snake video and I'll show those off. But they do need a lot of space. So
my whole thing is when we do snakes, don't show the enclosure because someone's gonna talk shit about what we have them in. Whether it's I took the hide out for the video, bro. It has a hide, I swear.
How would you bring this back to your YouTube channel? We are talking about snakes, babe. Can we keep it on snakes? At least you're not the one with the nose who just had a nose beat for half an hour.
Yeah, really.
Maybe it's my animosity and anger. That's I don't know. But as far as bulls go, do you breed them like normal colubrids?
Yeah. So you have to hibernate them for 3 months. I mean, I'm just spotting at this point. That was so not even. All right.
Sorry, my brain went there.
I think we're having fun.
Yeah. All right. What was your question?
So obviously you brumate your bull snakes.
Yes.
Like
you treat them just like any other colubrid. You brumate them for 3 months. Down to 50 degrees, bring them up, warm them up, they shed, you feed them tons of stuff. Right after that shed, and they've put some of that weight back on, you pair them up, they do their thing. It's really, really easy.
Now the chat asks when your reds are going to be ready to breed.
When my reds?
Yes.
Next year.
Okay.
Next year. Yeah, this is a project that I started a couple of years ago, and next year I hope it'll all come to fruition. So,
okay, you say it's really easy, but then I think about how you live in Minnesota. I have friends who live. I have friends who live there. Literally describe it as Satan during the winter, which sounds weird because it's hot, but like literally dead. Like, how do you do that when it literally snows for half the year?
Okay, so. It starts snowing here in November, and it stops in like early May.
Yeah,
which
terrible.
Actually, Brandon just said spotting is the worst. What was the question? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so all I do is I crack a window, and I literally bring the entire herp room down to 50 degrees, and I don't have to do anything but open a window. But I have friends of mine in Texas that actually have to set up like a hibernaculum in their garages where they, have to set up an air conditioning system. And friends of mine in Florida, California, whatever. That would really suck. So,
opening the window doesn't get too cold?
No, it literally stays 50 degrees in that room. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I've done both. I lived in upstate New York, which is probably pretty similar to Minnesota, maybe not as cold.
Maybe.
But it was lake effect.
It's not similar. Oh yeah, true. He did live. Oswego's really cold.
It's in the border of Canada on the fucking.
Oh, there you go. So you got more snow than we did, but we get the deep freeze.
You're probably colder there.
Yeah.
But it was easier for me to brumate than when I lived in living in Texas. One day, my heater blew out and they were 17 degrees or something.
Oh, no.
Well, it was 17 degrees out. They got 32 degrees, and then they'd be 80 the next week because I couldn't keep them cool. So everything ended up fine. But
yeah. Wow, no. Yeah. I love Minnesota. Despite the winter, I love Minnesota. And it is easy to brumate colubrids.
That is shock of the century for me right now. Really? I was expecting you to have like a 10-minute long thing of like how hard it is to brumate up there. Okay,
take that window thing and go like this.
And now ball pythons. Even though we don't go very deep into ball pythons, but what do you keep? What projects are you into? And what's your future in ball pythons?
All right. So I tried a bunch of things. So during the craze, everybody wanted to be like the first person to produce this, the world's first. And and everybody kind of focused on, getting as many genes into their collection as they could, because really back then everything was selling. Well, now that we know that Spider has the wobble and Spider kind of lost favor, and, Pinstripe has been done, so many countless times and so many countless morphs, pinstripes aren't really a big thing anymore. So what I keep telling everybody is to, the way to make money in the ball python world now, my opinion, others may disagree with me, but I think it's pretty spot on, is pick a gene. Pick a gene that you love and work only with that gene and get known for working with that gene. And then and then you're going to attract buyers that love that gene as well. And they're going to know, okay, I go to breeder X because I want snake X. JD Constriction in Iowa is a perfect example of it. They produce some of the most amazing axanthics, and that's all they do is axanthics. So if you're out there looking for an axanthic, JD Constriction is going to be your first place that you're going to go, because they have the reputation of producing nothing but axanthics, and really good ones too. So when I identified that might be the way to go, pieds were my first love. And so I work almost exclusively with pieds now. I sold all of my clown stuff. I used to love calico stuff. I sold all of that stuff. And now my entire breeding facility is all geared towards pieds and, what kind of different genes I can put into pied. I really love that gene. So I'm a pied guy.
Yeah, I mean, pied is, no matter if it's one of the older genes that we have. Clown is old too, but those are now those are the big thing right now. They've been around forever.
Right. And I like that pieds are affordable for a lot of people now, or for more people now. I remember I bought I bought my first pied, which was a male, and I bought it for $3,500. A male baby pied, which is now $200, maybe $300, whatever they go for.
That's painful.
Yeah. So, and what I used to do is, because I traveled so much, I couldn't really do a lot of the shows. And of course I do Tinley every year. Dave Kaufman's Reptile Adventures sponsors the NARBC now. And so, if I couldn't sell out at Tinley, which of course you never do, I would just wholesale my stuff. And so nobody really knew that I was breeding all this stuff, because I would do like 1 or 2 shows and then I would wholesale the rest out. I wouldn't put out a price list. I wouldn't go on, now Morph Market, but back then kingsnake.com, which sorry, Jeff, but I don't know if a lot of people go to kingsnake.com anymore.
I get good response on Fauna.
Did he just call you Jeff?
On Fauna, God, that's the worst. Yeah, don't get me started on Fauna. But yeah, so, a lot of people didn't know that I was breeding all this stuff, because I would just simply wholesale it out and go back to Australia. So yeah, I mean, pieds are where it's at. So I bet you I've produced, not including all the het stuff and the stuff that I'm holding back, I probably have over 50 just pied stuff, like banana pieds or banana leopard pieds or, pastel pieds or whatever.
Now, in the interest of your time when you're traveling all around, I know a lot of people at this point are breeding like ball pythons all year round. Are you still strictly seasonal due to your climate and time constrictions?
I try to be, only because it's easier for me. If I have, like, for instance, right now, it's, see you guys.
What?
Hang on.
Oh, no.
Battery just died. Phone battery dead.
But how are we still hear you?
I do not know.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's weird how we can hear you, but we can't see
I don't know
you.
if he's still there.
Look, it has this little picture.
Yeah, but we don't hear him.
Okay, so this has been the worst podcast ever.
It was going to be the best podcast.
It was going to be the best. We talked it up so much. This is the one I was so excited for.
What happened?
Everything happened. But now his phone's dead. What are we going to do? His computer. We tried to do it on his computer. It wouldn't work on the computer. And
I don't know. Let's start talking about our stuff, and then we will just adjust from there. So I guess this will give us a little opportunity to talk about our season so far. So you talk to Dave while I just talk about what's going on. So
I don't know what to do.
So all we have right now is just one clutch left out of the whole season. We had sounds so stupid when you say, because it's like such a little number compared to so many other people, but it feels like so much work for us. But it's like we've only had 9 clutches, but the 9th, for whatever reason, is like 3 weeks later than everything else. So it's like everything already hatched out and is ready to go, but we still have this random clutch kind of clinging on to the end there. So that will be hatching in probably like 5 or so days. And then other than that, what we have is, if you guys haven't seen our Instagram, we have a bunch of different stuff coming out. But I think I found out that our A-male buff male isn't an A-male buff, because I bred A-male buff to A-male buff, and it seems like half of the clutch is A-males and half of the clutch are A-male buffs. So
because if they both were A-male buffs, we should have gotten 100%.
We should have gotten almost 100%, because since it works 50-50, it wasn't 100% that we were going to get 100%. it was like 96%
we
or
would
90.
Get 100%.
Right. So it's like the fact that we got like 4 normals is probably not. Plus the female is a lot nicer than the male.
I agree. So then what could the male be? Just a really nice A-male?
Just a weird looking A-male, I guess, a little. But then the babies are a little wacky anyway. So it's like, I don't know what's going on.
What?
So there's just no, and Dave's trying to get back on, by the way. So we're gonna try to salvage something. But yeah, so the male isn't as nice as we just thought it wasn't as nice, but it turns out it may not be a buff, or it's something different. If it was something different, then it'd be super subtle. Like I think it's probably more so that it's just a regular A-male, because we bred that male that was supposed to be an A-male buff to a Sunglow Tessera and came out all A-males and A-male Tesseras. I wanted to look at everything and be like, oh yeah, that's an A-male buff, or that's a A-male buff Tessera. But then I just couldn't bring myself to say that looks like a buff in any of them.
Right. So it kind of fucked two. Sorry,
well,
Brandon, I'm still cursing.
It kind of half messed up our projects, but it was still we still got a few buffs. It sucks that we didn't get the whole clutch of buffs. It sucks that we didn't get that second clutch of buffs. That Sunglow, I could have bred her to the snow and made snow Tesseras. And I could have made snow Tesseras, but I tried to make A-male buff Tesseras. But now we just have A-males and A-male Tesseras.
And no snow. And it just sucks because there's still the Sunglow.
This is like first world problems, 100%. But the
Sunglow snakes or babies are still pretty, but it's just like I feel like we kind of not devalued her, but we could have used her in a better,
more effectively. Yeah,
right.
We wouldn't have just put an A-male. I wouldn't keep an A-male male around. Sorry, besides Tony, we have Tony.
So we're gonna sell the male?
I don't know. That's so, and I hate selling adult snakes just because it's like,
but
once it's an adult, that's like your snake. It feels much more your snake.
Yeah, but you didn't grow it up. We just got it last year.
I didn't grow it up.
And if it's just an A-male, sorry, if it's just an A-male, then we have no need for it.
Yeah,
but then it's like we're not certain it's just an A-male.
I know it's that one shred. I should be 100% sure, but I'm holding on to hope. That's me being very optimistic.
But to me, it looks better than it's a bad looking buff, but I feel like it's a really good looking A-male.
It's a creamy A-male. Yeah,
right. It's better.
It's weird.
It's better than other A-males I see out there.
Yeah, but then again, Evan said my corn's pretty, and that's supposed to be our normal from our clutch.
Yeah,
and
the one we gave Evan is gorgeous.
Looking,
yeah. So that just happens. That a regular thing can end up being very pretty, which
I think there's just a lot of variability everywhere especially in corn snakes. But there's
James Lewis brought up the fact of saving that male that we think may just be a normal A-male and breeding it to the daughter. I agree. I mean, that might be but then it's like we have to wait 3 years for it to grow up.
The thing is, corns are usually recessive as it would be a lot of work to do it for no one caring, but I mean, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but that's just where I am. I came to this conclusion today after
you haven't even told me about it.
This is the first time me mentioning it to you because I came to it today because for like the 5th, because someone asked me for A-male buffs today. So I was like, okay, let me actually go through these, actually see what's what. And then I'm like, this clutch looks half, and then this clutch looks 0% A-male or A-male buff anywhere. There's no buff anywhere. So, I mean, and that's easy to fuck up as the breeder because buff is a very subtle thing. So yeah, Brennan asked, "Does Dave know how a cell phone charger works?" I guess he tried. He just had a slow one.
Well, I think he had plugged it up to his computer, and iPhones don't charge as fast on the computer. Yeah, but, so now I think he's putting it into an outlet, and he's just waiting for it to come back.
But Buff is very subtle. But I can tell kind of night and day, because there's one animal that I sent this lady, outrageously orange, so fucking orange, and all the other ones have red in them. Sorry, Brandon. I'm just apologizing to Brandon directly every time I curse. But it's so beautiful, and the others just fall short, and I can't find any that besides the AML Buff Motleys. I think those are both buff. So our 50% landed on the Buff Motleys.
On the good side of the 50.
Lucky for us, but we can't sell because those are both girls. We got to keep those. But then again, now we don't have a buff male.
True.
Because that was our buff male.
The dad we thought was a buff male.
Yeah.
So we don't. Yeah, unless we do like James Lewis said and bring it back to the daughter in hope.
But that doesn't give us a male buff. We made a male buff, but I just sold it.
Did you send a snake off today?
No.
Is that the one that made
it? On Instagram. Yeah.
Oh, you sold it on Instagram 2 days. So you didn't ship it off.
Today.
You sold it.
Yeah, but I sold it.
Why didn't you come to this decision like 24 hours ago?
Because I simultaneously sold the snake and took pictures and realized all at the same time, and that a collective, all right, I just give up on this shit. And then I was thinking like 3 years ahead. I was like, what am I gonna buff next? I have buff tesseras, I have buff AML buff, all this stuff, AML buff Motleys. Like, what can I do next? Let's bring it into something not AML. Just kidding. We're not gonna have a male for you, so you're gonna want to rethink all your projects.
We need someone to sell us and proven adult.
Not necessarily.
It's we
may have another male scratching around there somewhere. I don't think so. Scratching around. What the hell am I talking about? But yeah, that's a little bit of my daily disappointment.
I was disappointed about, and we can tell everyone that.
I gotta pee, so you can talk.
Oh,
but go on.
Okay, not disappointed, but so one of our most highly anticipated clutches this year was our Miami Okeetees, which I know a lot of y'all who are listening are really into it. But as they look normal, I was super disappointed. I guess I didn't, do the Ian's vivarium check before to see what a Miami Okeetee baby looks like. I just have our mom. I'm like, she is gorgeous. So I thought the babies would look, I don't know, kind of like it, have some of that orange, black, gray, but they literally look like normal corn snakes. I'm like, how does this baby grow up to be this? They're nowhere near each other. But I don't know. So I feel weird selling it to people, being like, hey, this is what I think it's gonna look.
To pick one that had 0 orange, and I wanted to pick one that was high orange. But what I got is mostly high orange animals in comparison to regulars, so to a normal wild type. So they do get orange and gray as they get older. So they enhance their color as they get older. So it's hard to pick out when they're babies. So the fact that they were both het snow, and we ended up with 2 snows, 1 anery, and 3 normals, and I thought I was gonna have more to choose from. So it's actually detrimental that they're het snow, but it's also cool because we produce really cool animals. So the anery that I made is going to someone who's in the chat now, but it ended up being everyone fucking loves that snake. And I posted up on Instagram, got the most likes that we've ever gotten on a snake. It has over 2,000 likes. I posted it on a corn snake group today, and it went crazy as well with 27 comments so far and 200 likes, which doesn't happen that much in the corn snake group. So people really, really love this animal because I think it is the male high red Okeetee is actually what we call red coat, which is what makes it that red. So I think that passed it on to the offspring. So there's some really high orange offspring that I'm keeping back. I already picked one to hold back, but and it's a male. But then we have reverse and stuff that are going to be high red. I know those babies are going to look outrageous. I don't know what they're going to look like, but they're going to look outrageous and they're going to look great. And that's
Julie's talk. I have to admit, I wasn't listening to you for a second, but she said it's polygenic. What? I was talking to Dave. What is she talking about?
Okay. So if you're talking polygenic as far as Miami and Okatee, then that may be true. It's kind of weird because you're breeding together two different looks. The Miami is obviously a gray snake with red pattern more so, and the Okatee is supposed to be, the classic Okatee look. So, but there's kind of, once we breed those together, and then the high red Okatee, it was supposed to be line bred, but we know now after breeding it out, and Don Soderbergh did this. This isn't coming from me. I'm not the fucking corn snake morph god.
The what? The what?
Fucking. But
hey, little Brandon's watching.
Yeah.
See?
but we found out that is actually a recessive trait that can be passed on. The red coat and the red factor. If you wanted to learn more about that, buy Sarah Moore's book. And if you want to hit me up after the podcast, but we have Dave back, which if you guys forgot about Dave, he's
yeah. What was the question?
So
oh man, this is the weirdest interview I've ever done, guys. The weirdest.
I am so sorry.
We need to like in person.
No, it's nothing to be sorry
again,
for. It's actually kind of fun. It's all sorry for it. It's actually kind of fun. It's awesome. It's not boring.
It's not boring.
That can go wrong. Let me not say that. I'm not gonna.
Eyes in the door behind you.
Don't even fuck with me.
I thought you were talking about our dog. I thought you were talking. I thought Dixie.
You have a 6 foot tall dog? Whoa.
We don't have a dog.
Where is Dixie? She was here a second ago. Okay.
Yeah, she's all right. All right, but really, ball pythons, piebald.
Yeah,
so,
we were talking about pieds. I think pieds.
I would say that's definitely an advantage you have on the normal guy in a basement with ball pythons is that you have a following and YouTubers. So, and YouTube.
Yeah.
So how do you use that to kind of leverage, your reptile sales and stuff?
I guess sort of. Sort of. Surprisingly, I'm not like inundated with, hey, I saw this in a video. How much is this? I just like showing off my snakes. And if people want to buy them, great. They're for sale.
Mm-hmm.
So
now you had mentioned that you don't do any shows, but are you ramping up production at all or anything like that? Do you
very much so, yeah, I am. And on that note, I just started Patreon. And even though I'm sponsored by Zilla and Rainbow Mealworms, these videos are expensive, and the things that I make the videos about, traveling to places that previous to me going there I couldn't pick out on a map, New Caledonia, for instance. These are expensive trips, but nobody else is doing this. No other YouTuber is going to New Caledonia to go find crested geckos and lychees in the wild. So that trip was ridiculously expensive, and it basically almost took up my entire year. Well, I have a budget for travel, and then I have a budget for other things and yada yada. But that New Caledonia trip basically took up my entire, not my entire, but I'm not going to take another big trip until maybe this fall because that trip was so expensive. That was so easy for me to say, but it took me 5 minutes to say it. But so anyway, as far as the the sponsorship and the Patreon is concerned, 99.5, let's just say, % of that money goes into the production of the videos. The money that I make off my ball pythons pays for my studio, pays for my car, pays for my electricity, all my bills, they come out of my ball pythons.
That's insight that I did not know.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah. But and I can't really, I can do it that way, but there just comes a point where, I don't want to have to scrimp and save and say, I can't do this because I need to do this or whatever. It's inhibiting the things that I want to do and the things that I want to show people in my channel. And that's why I launched Patreon, to kind of, make up for some of that that deficit in there. So, plus, this computer that I edit on is a 2012 Mac. There was no 4K in 2012, and this computer, I can hear it wheezing when I try to edit 4K. So I need to upgrade this, and the sponsorship isn't going to cover that. So
the fact that your Mac even still works.
Oh, I baby this. I baby my little computer here.
And
you know what's funny is that I don't baby this computer. I have banged this computer up. This computer has been all over the world with me, literally. And it's been banged up. It's been banged up, but it's still going. And I edit every single one of my videos on a system that simply, it needs to be so upgraded that we couldn't do this interview on this computer because the app that we're using couldn't be downloaded on my computer. And my computer is that old, and that's what I'm using to edit my videos with. So
wow.
Yeah.
We even struggle on our computer. That's maybe like 3.
That's like the worst when it's not your skill that's holding you back. It's rendering every little fucking piece during editing.
Adobe Premiere kills this computer.
Oh, that's what I edit on. And yeah, I mean, I'm constantly, like every single day, I have to restart my computer at least 10 times because it froze up.
And God forbid I upgrade Adobe, because that may totally screw.
Oh, it probably won't work with your operating system.
Right.
But anyway, there it is.
So, better talk. Again,
the ceiling, the phone fell.
We see the computer.
Well, I've said this before, and I just wanted to say it again. The fact that you mentioned a second ago, no one else is doing what you're doing. And the fact that no one else is doing it makes it so awesome that you're doing. The fact that you're willing to take half your budget to go to New Caledonia, like that's
you're doing what we dream of.
What people are too much of a word I can't say.
Oh, sorry, Brandon. Sorry,
Brandon.
No, Brandon, stick your fingers in your ears. Okay, go ahead and say it.
Literally, no, you said it. I was saying a word I can't say.
Scaredy cats.
Yeah, well, we're all scaredy cats to just bite the bullet and do. You're doing.
If for people that watch my videos and my vlogs, especially, I fall off mountains in California and I get up and laugh about it. I get myself, and this is a lifelong thing, I have gotten myself into pickles that I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to get out of them, but there's my ceiling again. How I get out of them, and I don't know. Wait a minute, there I am. And it's a lifelong thing. Just get myself into these situations where I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to survive this. And I obviously do, but what it did was it created this huge tolerance against fear. And I have no fear of anything. I don't fear anything. And so for me, and I think that there's a saying that, fear and doubt has killed more dreams than failure ever has. And for me, when my friends from Australia said, let's go to New Caledonia and find geckos, bam, I was there. I was on board. And then once we got out there and realized what we had to go through to get out to the islands, and then once we actually got out to the islands, and all the really, let's face it, dangerous things that could have happened to us out on those islands, it doesn't even enter into my head. I mean, I'm just like zero fear. Go, go, go. So,
Would you ever move to Australia?
No. I love Australia. Australia has it going on. Economically, they've got it going on, but their government is so draconian to the point where I don't think that I could live there without going to jail.
Is that just reptile-wise?
No, it's a lot of other things. It's a lot of other things. On the other hand, they don't have the problems that the U.S. has. They don't have the poverty that the U.S. has. They don't have, single mothers having to work 4 jobs just to buy a box of cereal. Even a janitor there makes $100,000 an hour. Or $100,000 an hour, $100,000 a year.
Well, I've heard that in Australia, it's even rude.
But it's Australian money, so it adds up to about 10 cents in American money. No, but seriously, their economy is much stronger than ours is, and it's. I think that the quality of life in Australia is better than in the United States. But for me as a herper, there's no way that I could do that. There's no way that I could not have my ball pythons. There's no way that I could not have my bull snakes. You go to, the expos in Brisbane or Sydney, and it's the same thing over and over again. Carpet python morphs and blue tongue morphs. Nobody really works with bearded dragons in Australia, which is weird. And then it's a bunch of other things, mixed in, and there's some cool stuff there. I mean, Australia has some cool stuff, but I don't think that I could live there because of that. So.
Yeah, that's even when we know people who specialize in Australian pythons. It's like you love that they have all that and you can get things that we can't even get here.
Yeah,
but then again, it's like you have to give up everything else in the world.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So when I was over there, most of the herpers that I talked to, they wanted to know about my ball pythons and they wanted to know if I worked with corn snakes.
Yeah, even a ball or a corn.
Let's go be there. We'd be like super cool to breed corn snakes over there. Like
it's one of those things, I mean, if they could have corn snakes, they would have the popularity that they currently do here. I mean, people are really into corn snakes or you're not into corn snakes. But over there, because they can't have them, because they can't have ball pythons, they really, that's exotic to them. So
yeah,
grass is greener type thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but no, I absolutely love Australia. I love the people. The people are really, really just they're very friendly. They're very open. They're very they don't walk around like you go to New York City, go to Houston, go to Minneapolis, go to Minot, North Dakota. And the people walk around with this kind of inherent fear. It's the weirdest thing, and I only experienced this in the United States. No other country does the populace walk around with this kind of fear of the person standing next to them. And it's a phenomenon that only happens in the United States. And I think that, well, I mean, I have theories as to why that is, the evening news. But
yeah, I was like, so many things popping in my head that I want to say, and I'm not going to say right now.
You're right. Here's the people that got raped and murdered in your neighborhood today.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I love the people. I love the climate. The cities are beautiful. They're not dirty like our cities. And I think that Australians have a pride that is not really seen in a lot of other countries. A pride about their own country and a pride about their own accomplishments that I really don't see in a lot of other countries. So that's my spiel on Australia.
I love it.
So what have you, where have you explored in Australia? Because obviously Australia is huge. And then as far as the fauna goes, even huger as far as huger. That's a word. That's a word.
Huger.
You really got to pick where you're going. So where have you been? What have you found? And what's something that you still want to go find?
Just checking my battery. I'm good. I have not been out of New South Wales and Queensland. And of those two states, we've gone everywhere in those two states. But I really want to go down to Victoria. I want to go to Tasmania. There's some species that are on the island of Tasmania that I'd really like to see. And I'd really like to get out to the proper outback, not just the outskirts like we were in Queensland, but the proper outback where the the thorny devils, where those guys are. And we were so close to seeing them, but in 3 times that I've been in Australia, I've never seen a wild crocodile. I know.
What? Even in Queensland, right? And all that?
Yeah. Never seen a wild crocodile in Australia, and I've been there 3 times. So I'd like to see that. But there's a lot of stuff that in Australia, it's just like, you living in Texas, me living in Minnesota. Well, what's in California that you'd like to see?
Well, also, I've never seen a gray-banded king snake, and I live in Texas.
There you go. So it's the same principle, just applied to Australia. I mean, reptiles are like Pokemon. I want to catch them all, and they're just I'm trying. So I actually keep a life list of all the reptiles that I've seen all over the world, and I think that I'm at.
How long is that?
It's pretty long. It's a spreadsheet, but it's pretty long. It's a spreadsheet, but I think I'm over. I don't want to say this and stick my foot in my mouth, but
we'll never know. You could lie.
I'm reasonably certain it's approaching 5,000 species.
Whoa! So wait, all animals, period?
Stop. That sounds way too high. Why is that in my head?
This is all animals or just snakes?
It might be. No, all reptiles.
I think snakes, there's 2,000 to 3,000 species identified. I believe that would be the number.
I'm going to have to look because I don't want to, but somehow, upwards towards there sounds really, really.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm going to have to go take a look at that.
You should call Guinness Book of World Records.
No, there's many more people that have many more on their list than I do.
Who?
Mike Pingleton.
I don't know why I said who. I don't
Matt
know.
Page.
Well, there's
a lot of people that have more than I do.
Borneo or Myanmar or any of that.
Right.
Good luck.
No, as far as, my future trips, I don't know if you were going to ask that, but I'm going to.
Yeah, no, go for it. We would eventually.
Go for it.
I've got some exciting stuff lined up for the future of videos that I'm going to do. So I'm going to try to get to Europe in September to go find the Viper burst. No, what is it called, Annie? The Viper that's there. I'm drawing a complete blank.
The UK.
Yeah, it's sometimes known as the Siberian adder. It's the one snake that's found north of the Arctic Circle, and I'm drawing a complete brain fart on the scientific name of it. But I've been talking to a couple of people in Europe to actually go north of the Arctic Circle and find this snake.
Wow.
And that could be happening in September. I'm going back to the Middle East in September because there's a lot of stuff there that I haven't seen the last couple of trips that I've been there. And then I'm going down to Ecuador to go not only to the coastal side of Ecuador, but the Ecuadorian Amazon. So I've done the Peruvian Amazon. Now I want to do the Ecuadorian Amazon. And then, you ready for it? I'm going to announce it for the first time on your show.
Whoa!
I'm going to southern Minnesota to find milk snakes. It's going to rule.
All the way.
No, I think that I am, well, I not think, I am just in the initial planning stages of going to Benin to find ball pythons in the wild.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
That could happen in March.
Wow. That's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot of traveling. So, yeah.
So, okay, wait. I Googled. Is it Viper Barus?
That's it. I knew the bee, but I couldn't.
But
it
seems like the common name, they just call it a European adder.
Yeah. And it depends on where it is. And frankly, there's a lot of work that needs to be done on that snake because I think as soon as the taxonomists get a hold of that thing, they're going to split it. And not only split it, but split it into a couple of different, at least subspecies. So I just don't think that there's been any work done on that snake. So,
like mini snakes.
Right. And then the video that I just uploaded today about rat snakes, I talk about how I completely disagree with the lumping of the North American rat snakes.
Do you agree?
Well,
with
the
Tim?
thing is, it's been lumped and separate. The fact that, like, especially with corn snakes, we saw a lot of emery crosses and stuff like that because they were the same species. Yeah, and then I don't agree with. Now I'm in Texas and I can't call it a Texas rat snake. I have to call it a Western rat snake, or else the internet hates me.
Well, then let the internet hate you. I mean, I there's a lot of things that taxonomists do that I'm like, I can see that. Okay, great. Rat snakes, lumping them all into Eastern or Western, foul.
Black is different, certainly different. Some people even call, obsoleta, they call the black rat snake the same as the Western rat snake.
Right.
Or they call it the Eastern, Western, the black. It's all mixed together. And to me, those are so different. Well,
and let's take fox snakes, for instance. Eastern fox snakes were found around the Detroit area of Michigan, down into Ohio. There was a little disjunct population of them. Those were the Galoidai. Those were the Easterns. Well, now the taxonomists have said that the St. Croix River and the Mississippi River that separates Minnesota and Wisconsin, that's the barrier. So all fox snakes in Minnesota are Westerns. All fox snakes on the other side of the river in Wisconsin are Easterns now, not taking into consideration this disjunct population that has no way to interbreed with the rest of the population.
And are you assuming that a snake is not going to cross a river?
And that is why I disagree with a lot of what is happening. Yes. Yes, because most of the fox snakes that I have caught were canoeing on the St. Croix, cruising the river.
And
so it's not a barrier.
The yellow
mountain
rat
rat
snake is
is a
certainly
barrier.
different than
Right.
eastern
Right.
rat snake.
Right.
Get
Right.
out of here with that.
Right. So
It's just someone wants to put their name on something and publish a paper, and
you know, I try not to. It's a difference of opinion, is what it boils down to, and I don't want to discount their work. And you know, by me disagreeing with their work, I'm not. I don't want to discount their work. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
So yeah.
But it does seem like somewhat of a power struggle between
It is.
certain people. Yeah,
it is. And I'm not a taxonomist, so
exactly.
I claim that it's my opinion. I have, you know,
Right.
I wasn't in the lab, you know, looking at the mitochondrial DNA to see the relationship between snake A and snake B, but you know, there it is.
Who am I to talk shit, really? But yeah.
So there, yeah. Anyway.
But as far as places that you've gone, so let's get more specific.
Oh yeah, we were talking about travel.
Yeah. So definitely people have not many people have been to New Caledonia. Obviously, that's a very recent one for you. So can you go over a little bit of where you went, what you found? How the hell do you even get there?
In New Caledonia?
Yeah.
New Caledonia is very tricky, and I think the reason why a lot of people haven't gone there yet is how hard it is to get there.
I don't even know where it is.
It's a 3-hour flight into the Pacific off the coast of Australia.
Wow.
So
okay.
what I do when I travel is I pick a main continent somewhere in the world and I use that as my base. And then I'll buy tickets to wherever around that area I want to go. So for instance, I flew into Brisbane. So what I did was I bought a round trip ticket from Minneapolis to Brisbane. And extended that for 2 weeks. Well, I knew that 10 days within that 2 weeks, we were going to be in New Caledonia. So if I would have bought a ticket from Minneapolis to Noumea, it would have been almost $3,000. But I bought a ticket from Minneapolis to Brisbane, and it was $1,200. And then the ticket from Brisbane to Noumea was $500.
Wow.
So by doing it that way, you save hundreds, and you can even save thousands. But then, you know, all the animals that we wanted to find, all the geckos that we wanted to find are not on the main island. They're on, you know, Isle of Pines and then the surrounding islands around the Isle of Pines. So we had to, and there's no way for you to get a boat from, well, there is, from the main island to the South Island, but, you know, that's going to eat up a lot of your time to, you know, take a boat down there. So we had to fly down there. There's one airline that has 2 flights a day from the mainland to the smaller island. And I think it was like $100. And it was a puddle jumper with the propellers. It wasn't even a jet. And, you know, it didn't even climb to more than 10,000 feet. So it's a really small plane. But then once you get to the Isle of Pines, you know, we didn't even know how we were getting around. So as we landed, we didn't know where we were staying. We didn't know how we were getting around. We didn't know if you could rent a car. These were things that you simply can't find online when you prep for these trips. So we rented a car, and we found some cheap hotel, whatever. It was actually a grass hut that we all slept in, which was awesome. But then we didn't realize that you couldn't just hire a fisherman to take you out to the islands, which was our plan. You had to get tribal permission because all of those islands are under the Kanak people's control. So we had to go find the chief of the Kanak, and this is our first day there. We had no idea that we had to do any of this. So we went and found the chief of the Kanak, sat down with him, told him why we were there and why we wanted to go out to the islands, and he immediately thought we were poachers that wanted to go out there and steal all the rare lizards. And so I pulled out my phone and I showed him the YouTube channel, and I said, no, I want to make videos for this channel. And he watched a couple of my videos, and when he was done, he said, you know what? I'm not only giving you permission to go out to the islands, but I'm taking you there myself. That's awesome. So the chief became our tour guide, and his family came along. I mean, just the greatest people ever. And so once we were on the island, then we had another problem. We had no idea where to even begin to look for lychees. We had no idea to look for, you know, where to look for the terror skinks. So, you know, we were basically flying by the seat of our pants for 10 days. We were getting no sleep. We were, you know, dehydrated. We were malnourished. Everything is sharp. We were getting cut up and bleeding all over the place. It was a very, very, very hard trip, but was awesome because everything but gargoyle geckos we found. That was on our list, so it was good. It was good, but it's a lot of planning and it's a lot of hard work once you get out there. So I never want to take another trip like that again, actually.
Now, how wild is that place? Is that island as far as inhabited?
It's uninhabited.
Okay.
No people. No people. Yep. So we were sleeping on islands that probably hadn't had human beings actually sleeping on them in hundreds of years because the tribe doesn't even go out there to sleep. Yeah. Yeah, there's really no natural resources that the tribe would want to go out there for on some of these islands. Some of these islands, there were people all over the place. But on some of the islands that we selected, we had birds, like literally like seabirds coming right up to us because they didn't know what we were. They'd never seen a human being before.
Now, is it much like what people I've heard of who traveled to, Indonesia and the little islands off of that, or Central America and little islands out there? Is it kind of like you can find different and new species in every single island?
That's what we were looking for. We were looking for new undescribed species. So a couple of the islands that we selected them because we read all the papers that were written on New Caledonia, and let's say that this guy, Aaron Bauer, for instance, who did a lot of work out there and wrote the book out there, he spent like maybe 3 hours on one island, and that was it. And so we targeted those islands to try to find newer species.
And did you have any success?
We don't know yet. We found one bovia lizard, and the jury is still out if it's new or not.
So I think if I remember in the video correctly, you found some type of gecko that wasn't previously thought to be on an island, correct?
Yeah, that was the trachea on, and that was on Isle of Pines, and all that would have been as a range extension.
Okay,
so
but
yeah,
you think someone may be onto something with something more? Can you tell us as much as you can tell us about it?
Well, I mean, it was only. What now? It's only been 3 months, so the work is still being done. The papers are still being written. I'm not writing the papers, so I really can't share a lot of what's happening with those. But it's going to be interesting. But I'm eager to see what the findings are.
So is that something? Obviously, you had a name for it. So is it something that looks like a species, just a little bit different?
It's in the bovia family of geckos. And if it's a new species, all it's going to be is probably a new subspecies of bovia. I don't think we discovered a new species. I think we may have discovered either a range extension or a subspecies. But it's awesome, but it's going to take a little time to figure out exactly what it was.
Absolutely. And what's the process there? Do you have to take a specimen back with you?
No. We couldn't take any. We couldn't take the animals or any part of the animal. We couldn't take DNA samples. So basically, all we could really take is photographs, and that's going to make it really difficult to figure out exactly what. And we may never figure out what it was, But we took measurements, photographs, counted toes, counted scales, whatever we could take to try to figure out exactly what it was. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. So it's so weird how you got from herpers to going to these random islands. So how the hell did you get in touch with all the right people to, open up these travel plans to even get with other herpers basically to get to these islands?
Well, you know what? If it wasn't for Facebook, half these trips wouldn't happen. Right now I'm talking to people in Europe that I would have never really talked to. But because I'm going there, I'm starting to make my connections to people in Europe. And there's a few people in Europe that I talk to regularly. But I'm making new friends already just off of Facebook in preparation for me going there. So yeah, without Facebook, there's very few other ways, or without the internet, let's just say, there's very few ways that I would be able to connect with the people that I need to over there.
Absolutely. So let's go into a little bit different realm as far as you went to Israel and herped pretty much would be considered the desert, right?
Yeah, it is the desert. Yeah, the Negev desert, yeah.
So what did you exactly find there? And kind of, I know you made some films about it and stuff like that, but
hang on a second, let me check my battery real quick. 7%. Yes, we're holding strong. All right. I'm sorry, what was the question?
So Israel, herping Israel. So
herping Israel. I've been to Israel 7-8 times in my life. It's absolutely nothing like you would think it is. The evening news has that whole area at such a weird
like it's
slant.
constant war.
That it's constant war and it's constant warfare. And what they're showing is they're showing a war zone in Gaza, which is a war zone. You know, the Hamas lives there. A terrorist organization controls that entire area. Of course, it's going to be a war zone. But if they would literally turn their cameras around and point it to the other direction, they would see Israelis and Palestinians going to the same schools and their kids playing in the same playgrounds and going to the same supermarkets. And there's peace. There's just not peace in Gaza. And because there's not peace in Gaza, that's what the international media is showing you. You know, peace doesn't sell, war sells. So yeah, so, you know, Israel reminds me of Southern California. Just the vibe and how it looks and how the people are. It's a really great place. And but yeah, so I've met some herper friends there. And let me tell you something, Israeli herpers are diehard. Like here, when you go out at night, you go out until maybe 1 o'clock in the morning, and then there's a lull. There's a point in the night where the animals stop moving and whatever. In the deserts, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm exhausted. I've got jet lag. We go back to the cars, and I'm like, oh, good, we're going to go find a hotel. I can get some sleep. No, we went back to the cars to slam Red Bull so we could get back out into the desert, and we wound up sleeping on sand dunes and watching the sunrise because we were herping all night long. And active herping, like, you know, chameleons. There's 2 chameleon species in southern Israel. Really? And they're diurnal, and at night they literally are sleeping in the bushes. So you just walk up and pick up a chameleon. And and what's funny is half of them don't even realize that you picked them up. They're still sleeping in your hand. So there's not a lot of reptiles there as far as species are concerned, and you'd think that there was, but there is a lot of what is there. So in one given night, I don't know if you know what a royal diadem snake is. It's like a rat snake.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So we would find 12 of those in one night. We would find cerastes and all of these things that you know, you don't really see. For some reason, the dog just ran in here like his ass was on fire. I don't know what that was all about. But yeah, I mean, it has a lot of diversity there, and I love it. There's 2 species of Uromastyx that live there, and it's where, you know, Israel is a land bridge between Europe and Africa. So all the species, you know, all the European species and the African species meet right there on that landmass. So, but yeah, I think I'm going to go back in September. Actually, I've got some unfinished business there.
And now I don't know anything about vipers or venomous, but there's desert horned vipers there. What's
desert horned vipers. There's the little cerastes. I'm drawing a brain fart on these guys too. They're the little vipera. Anyway, I made a video.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then there's cerastes. There's saw scale vipers. The only one that we saw was a roadkill at 4 a.m. in the middle of the desert on the Jordanian border. At 4 a.m. in the desert, there should be no other cars. And the only other car was the one that hit him crossing the road in front of us. That's my unfinished business. I have to go back to get my saw scale. So, and then Montpelier snakes up in the north. So yeah, there's a lot of herps there that I haven't found on my last trips that I got to go back for.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you, obviously you travel all around the United States as well. Yeah. So is that like just normal business as usual for you, or do you plan out, because obviously going to New Caledonia is very different, but you seem to be in different states like every week. So that's still travel to us.
I am, yeah.
It doesn't seem like travel to you.
It's the same mechanics of planning, but it's not as intensive. So New Caledonia took us 6 solid months of planning. Africa will take us about that long. So we'll start thinking about Africa in September. But, you know, when I go to Florida next month, it's just basically, you know, like for instance, I just put out a thing on Facebook. I want to do another Bearded Dragon episode. So, you know, I put the call out there. A bunch of people came back. I just scheduled one today. So, it's the same mechanics of, figuring out your car rental, your airline, where you're going to stay, how you're going to save money, who you're going to film, when you're going to film them, what are you going to do in your downtime to, maximize that. So, yeah.
Are you just staying?
It's going to be old hat, actually.
People's couches.
A lot. Yeah. I will crash on. I have friends all over the country, so yeah, a lot of couch surfing.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like we randomly go, like we go to weddings or something, and we'll stay with a reptile keeper of some sort.
Yeah.
You say that like we do it all the time. We did it once.
But we were able to do it. We were able to do it. But we know
there's a fraternity and a sorority amongst reptile keepers that I don't think bird people's, experience. I don't think horse people, maybe they do. I don't know. I'm not a horse person, but yeah. So.
Okay, we should do a phone percentage check.
We should do a what?
A phone percentage check. Where are you at?
7%. Yes.
Oh,
so we're still there.
Okay, because
it's not decreasing and it's holding, so I think we're going to be all right.
Cool. Right, cool. Okay. Earlier, someone asked, and I feel like we haven't been answering the chat's questions, so I want to ask this. Brian Gundy said, "My wife and I are going to Costa Rica soon. Where would you suggest? I can't say.
We go to add some adventure to our trip.
The Costa Rican Amphibian Research Center in Seguares. It's actually started by a Minnesotan named Brian, and he bought a plot of land with the intent to make a refuge for really endangered frogs in Costa Rica. And he's got a guest house that you can rent, and for whatever kind of fee, he'll take you out and show you all the frogs. So I would strongly suggest that one, Brian.
And then moving, I guess we'll stay somewhere in Central America or so the Amazon. So you've been to the Amazon, correct? You were to the Peruvian part?
Peruvian Amazon, yeah.
So did you see Brazilian? Well, they wouldn't be Brazilian, but did you see rainbow boas there?
Yeah, we saw about 4 or 5 of them.
And you see corrals and all that stuff?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, corrals are just everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but they're common. We saw a bunch of them. The thing about that is, like let's say somebody goes to Texas and, are sick and tired of seeing checkered garters, or they're sick and tired of seeing flat earth snakes, or whatever the common stuff in Texas that the herpers in Texas are like, when you go to a place like the Amazon, all of that common stuff that's everywhere is new to you. So, I mean, even the common stuff that probably Peruvian herpers are like, oh, there's another so-and-so, we spent an hour photographing because it was so awesome to us.
Fucking eyelash vipers again.
My nemesis. The 3 times that I've been to Costa Rica, I've never seen them in the wild.
Oh, way. Really? I've heard that they're so plentiful.
One of the most common vipers I have missed all 3 times I've been there.
That's crazy.
4 times or 3 times? I don't remember. Either 3 or 4 times.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you have plans to go back there soon?
Yeah, because my friend who I was in New Caledonia with owns a reptile zoo in San Jose, Quetzal. And so I will probably go down and visit him and do some herping with him, film some episodes at his zoo. Ray Morgan is down there from Venom Interviews. I've never met him yet. So we'll probably stop by his place. And then probably pop on down to Ecuador after that. Because the other researcher that was with us in New Caledonia is from Ecuador.
It seems like when Americans want to escape the U.S., they take root in, as far as herpers go, in Costa Rica.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Is that just the most travel friendly, like American friendly?
Absolutely.
Place?
Absolutely. I would not want to go to El Salvador. I would, Nicaragua, yeah, I'd go there. But, Panama, I'd go there. But I think for the average person, probably not.
Just take a few bribes.
I do what you got to do. I mean, I'm not. I do my research as to what I would have to do to navigate around, but I certainly wouldn't do it by myself.
Well, I have to say, I've been trying to say for a second, but you keep talking. Ray Morgan, we had him on the podcast, shameless plug, and he's a really cool person. And it was nice. I feel like before you, he was like our real step into international herping and stuff. Would you
like
agree?
people who travel or who see?
Yeah.
Right. Like he was our first person who kind of did that, and now you kind of shit on him with your travel.
Whoa.
Not shit on him, but or you top him. That's the right correct.
But it's funny how you guys.
I don't want to say that.
Sorry, that was not the right sentence at all. I'm saying you top him with your.
Gotcha. Okay.
But he seems to be after a similar thing that you are, because obviously he made a film.
And I'm looking really forward to meeting him and grabbing a beer with him and just, talking shop. So hopefully I can connect with him when I get down to Costa Rica.
And speaking about travel again, is there any place you never want to go again?
New Caledonia.
Okay, you did say you don't want to do that. Okay, never mind. Damn it.
It was what happened is that the trip was great up until we got to the airport in Noumea, and the authorities pulled us aside, essentially strip searched us, went through all of our luggage, treated us like criminals because we were out on the islands. And we were Westerners that were out on the islands, and so therefore we were treated like poachers. And if they would have come to us and said, I know that you guys were out on the islands, I'm not accusing you of anything, we just need to check, I would have sat there and said, please, how can I help you check my stuff to know that we're not poaching? But no, they came at us like we were criminals, and they treated us like criminals. And that really set us all off. And then once we took a couple of extra days in Noumea, and I'm sorry, the people there are just not the friendliest, and they're not the most helpful, and they're just. I really left that country with a really sour taste in my mouth, and it was all about the people. We get away from the people, and it's the best trip I've ever had. And I'm talking about the people of European descent. I'm not talking about the native peoples, the indigenous peoples. They were the friendliest people I've ever met on the planet.
See, that's what I would think would be the opposite.
Nope, not at all. Not at all. And well, it's I'm not going to get into too much political stuff, but the people of New Caledonia, the Westerners that have basically squatted on that island and called it their own, they're just not the nicest people in the world, and we really left there with a sour taste. And when we got back to Brisbane, we were like, I have no desire to ever go back to that country again.
But you did what you had to do while you were there. So
well, but then the other side of the coin is the only reason I ever go back is to find the Gargoyle Gecko, which is found on the main island. But that main island is destroyed. I mean, the French have gone in there and literally strip mined the entire island for all the nickel. And so the Gargoyle Gecko's habitat is almost gone. But the New Caledonians have very strict laws that protect their native wildlife. Really? So you just did a strip mine and destroyed this entire mountainside for the nickel? That's good conservation there, people. So, yeah.
Well, money talks.
Well, exactly. So, anyway. So New Caledonia would be the place that I've been there, found what I wanted to find, have the memories, but onward to bigger and better things.
Now, it doesn't seem like you... Go ahead.
Thank you. When I do the finger thing, that means I have a question.
Is that how you got a bloody nose? You were sticking your finger up your nose? Is that what your cue was?
No, we have
She punches me on the leg.
I stick my finger to let him know I have a question. He needs to stop talking. And he ignores it. Well, it wasn't even a question. I need to retract my statement because I said Ray Morgan was our first person who travels, but no, we had Ari on.
Oh yeah, he goes to West
Ari
Papua. So.
Really travels.
Yeah.
And your story about like having to find the chief and everything made me think about
very similar to what
Ari.
he has to do in West Papua.
Absolutely. I mean, these are places where I'm not going to say they're going to kill you if you're found out on the islands, but the potential is there for that. If you're on these on these tribal lands without permission, you can get into some serious trouble. And I'm not talking, we're calling the police type of trouble.
Right.
Those are
the countries that don't mind.
Right.
Those are
the types of thing where your family calls the airline and asks if you were on the return flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't touch the embassy. We haven't seen Kate.
Right.
But as far as have you made it out to? We talked a little bit about like the Indonesian islands or where are we like Papua and those islands off of there?
No, I've been to Thailand.
Desire?
Yeah, I do. Komodo, of course. But this is what I've heard about Komodo, and it's not deterring me from wanting to go there. But once you've seen the dragons, the island is boring, and then you're stuck out there. So I've heard that from a couple of people, because the dragons are literally everywhere. I mean, and as it is, the first couple of dragons, I'm going to burn 4 hours of footage. The fifth dragon I see, I'm going to be like, oh, there's a dragon. And then I'm out on the island, and, I'll go look for the spitting cobras out there. I'll go look for the, the turquoise vipers that are there. But it's a national park, and they don't let you off the trails. So I'd like to go there, but it's not really high on my list to go there. But yeah, I mean, Indonesia and even in the Philippines, I'd love to go there. I'd love to go to Borneo. So we'll just see how it all plays out.
Since you travel so much for like herping and making videos and stuff, do you have time just to travel for funsies?
As a matter of fact, I was just talking to my girlfriend about that. And, I don't travel for fun. I travel for work, but I love what I do, so it is fun. I mean, I work very hard and I work very long hours, but I never work, But yeah, we were actually talking about taking a trip that had nothing to do with reptiles. She wanted to go down to Aruba, and the first thing I thought of was a video on Aruba Island. So I was like, no, that's not what this is about.
Attacked by a sea turtle.
Yeah. But we were taught it, and yes, we will be taking a trip that has nothing to do with work. But
can you shut your brain off?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I will not be able to. I will be looking under every little bark of every little pine tree. Maybe not flipping them to see what's under them, but every knoll that I see run around or whatever. Yeah, of course I'm going to do it. But no, I very rarely. The only time that I ever travel that's not reptile related is to go to Canada fishing.
Huh. But you're still kind of getting out there.
But and I still filmed turtles up there. The turtle breathing out the butt video. I filmed a portion of that up in Canada because I was at the most northerly range of turtles in North America. So I wanted to talk about cloacal respiration up there in those climates. But so even there, I didn't get away from it.
You just can't turn it off.
I cannot turn it off. I cannot. Yeah,
that's rough. Even him and I argue. Future possible honeymoons. He wants to go somewhere so he can freaking find snakes. I want to go to Costa Rica. I'm like, no, that's not going to be a honeymoon for you to go herping. It's not for him. That's not how it works. He's literally, or like we're walking up the stairs to our apartment. He's always looking for these geckos. Like literally, I'm like, what are you going to do with them when you find one?
Down there in Texas?
Yeah, he's
Mediterranean.
He's just always looking everywhere. I'm like, what? You're not going to do anything with them. Why are you always looking? It just drives me crazy. You're just looking to look.
Well, the thing is, like, you just want to. I don't know if it was your goal, but I want to do everything that I can to do everything that I want to do. Like, all I want to do is a means to the end that ends with me playing with snakes. So whatever that means is, I'm willing to do it. So, like, for me and you, it may be similar because I'm freelance video editor. And do some corporate videos. And it's like, that is a means just for me to do this. And it's like, I don't know if you feel the same way. Cause like,
I gotcha. Yeah.
All you're doing is stuff to lead you to the next snake thing. I don't know.
Right.
I don't want to speak.
There is something to be said about, I'm obviously reptile crazy. I eat, sleep, and, think about reptiles all the time and what I want to find and what I want to breed and whatever. But there is, getting away from that for a little bit, I think might actually kickstart my love of that when I get back to it. You know what I mean?
That's true, yeah.
So, I don't know. That's just
distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Right, exactly. But the good thing about that, or maybe the hard thing about that, is we live on a planet where reptiles are literally everywhere, and you can't go somewhere that doesn't have reptiles unless you're going to go look at wild penguins.
And it's also one of those things where if they're there, you don't find them immediately. It's like
you have to work.
Dude, they could be everywhere. Like I'm sure, and I could tell her like, I swear they're everywhere. We just haven't.
Yeah.
You could look for them forever.
Speaking of looking for them, we have some more questions from the chat. Our friend Evan asks if you ever go looking for green trees.
Green tree pythons?
So you would have to, land in Indonesia
or... we did in Australia. We went up to the top of Cape York Peninsula to find the Australian ones. However, when we were up there, we flew into Cairns and rented a car and drove up to this spot. And they had a flood which covered the road, and we couldn't get past it. So we went all the way and got right up to the place and couldn't get into it.
So
no, did not find them, but looked for them.
In Australia.
Yeah,
as
in Australia.
Far as snakes go.
Yeah. But I've never been to New Guinea to find the others.
Mm-hmm. Have you found, you found carpet pythons, diamonds, and all that? Yeah.
Carpet pythons over there are extremely common. They're like rat snakes over here.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever just wanted to take one?
Yes.
Yes. Like it's just right there. You just want to take it.
Yep. My trip in 12, the first time I was in Australia, it was the first albino carpets that I had ever seen. They were still 10 grand over here. And yes, and they were $200 over there.
God.
And absolutely, I stopped and I thought about shoving those down my pants and getting on a plane.
Right?
Yep. But I am very thankful every day that that a little wisdom sunk in before I actually did that.
It's just so tempting.
Yeah, I probably would still be in jail.
So how do you lead to not having, keeping Australian pythons at home?
Right. I'd be so tempted to do that too.
Well, I would like to get into blue tongues one of these days. But again, I travel so much I can't really have anything that misses me on a day-to-day basis. So, and I've got caretakers when I do travel that come in and take care of all my snakes. But, it's one thing to take care of snakes. It's another thing to, I got to put, dog food and this food and whatever on this plate and feed it to, I can't really ask them to really do all that for me. So, the traveling really hinders what I actually want to keep. But I've kept carpet pythons before. I've bred carpet pythons before. But again, Australian species, they only excite me by finding them in the wild. Keeping them in my family here, not so much, except for blueies.
Well, there's something that you just did that my third grade self would just melt to the ground. You went to the Australia Zoo.
Oh yeah. Yeah, my third trip over to Australia.
That was my dream for basically my whole life until I became an adult and realized that I would rather go in the wilds of Australia. But
yeah. The zoo was not what I expected, frankly. I expected a zoo like
negative
San
or
Diego.
Positive?
Not really even negative or positive. It just, I expected with the reputation that zoo had that it was going to be like the San Diego Zoo. And it wasn't at all. And I expected it to be much bigger than it was, and it's actually kind of a smaller zoo. So, the whole zoo is a shrine to Steve Irwin, which as well it should be. No, it was really cool. It was a really cool zoo. It was the only zoo that I've been to so many zoos I can't remember, and I'm sure there was another one, but you could actually walk in and pet the kangaroos. And you can pet the wallabies and whatever. You're in the cages with them. So that was really cool. But I think the coolest thing was finding my lifer green tree snake on the grounds of the zoo. So
hanging out
and that's in the vlog too. So, but it was really cool that we were there. We planned to be there the whole day. I think it took us 3 hours to see everything.
Wow.
Maybe 3 or 4 hours. Yeah. So it was a much smaller zoo than I actually expected it to be. I expected it to be like, San Diego Zoo, which it's really not.
Now that's around Brisbane?
Yeah, north of Brisbane, about maybe, I bet it's about an hour north of Brisbane.
All right, so I don't have to go there now. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. See?
No, go for the experience.
To the Gold Coast.
Just for me, I had an expectation that didn't match up with reality. So
yeah. I mean, that happens. I don't know if you feel the same, but when I go to a zoo, it's like we're used to touching the snakes and messing with the snakes. It's like you just want to get in there and touch them.
Yeah.
Do they have a lot of American or worldly species
non-Australian
Australian stuff?
They did, actually. They had a corn snake, and they had a ball python and an American alligator. They had raccoons and red foxes on display as if we would have, painted squirrels in our zoo from,
It's weird. A raccoon in a zoo. That seems so silly to me.
And I was like looking at it, and all the Australians were like, "Ooh, look at that!" And I was like, "Yeah, one of those took a dump behind my dumpster."
Like it ate my trash. Like
yeah. I just chased a fox away from my garbage can. Yeah, okay. But to them, it's exotic, so it's kind of cool.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
And is it as like the invasive species and everything? Whether it's cats, whether it is the what are those toads? Yeah.
The marine toad, yeah.
Yeah. Is it as terrible as everyone says it is?
With the marine toads, it is, yeah. Mm-hmm. And then rabbits out in the outback is really bad. Mm-hmm. No, the toad problem can be cured overnight. And instead, they are now introducing toads to places where there are no toads in the hopes that the native animals will gain some sort of immunity to the toads, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of.
So isn't that how the problem started, pretty much?
Well, yeah, exactly. But they're trying to, take this invasive species and introduce it into an ecosystem that has never had this very poisonous toad, and expect that in a generation, that the native wildlife is going to build up an immunity to the toads. Doesn't work that way. So
evolution takes part on a very different time scale than humans do.
That's right.
Evolution doesn't happen.
That's right. So, yeah, there's a lot of controversy about that move, but if they would put a 50-cent bounty per toad or $1 a pound, those toads would be off that continent tomorrow.
It seems like Australia in some parts is the same as like the American South, whereas like people are down to kill shit and get shit done.
Yeah. There's parts of it, sure.
Like they would be hunting those toads all day and night.
They would be
and none of that, but
toads.
Yeah, but they make a big thing out of the kangaroo cull. They go out there with high-powered sniper rifles and
they kill kangaroos.
Oh, by the tens of thousands.
What?
Absolutely. Otherwise, that herd is going to be out of control.
Just think about deer here. We got to kill deer.
It's the same situation with our white-tailed deer.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then also, I mean, there's wild water buffaloes, right? There's invasive water buffaloes, and
there are, but they're not really an issue. All they do is lumber around and poop on streets. But yeah.
But there's a lot of fun, I guess, if you got a gun and motivation.
Well, I think you need a much stronger gun for a water buffalo than you do for a kangaroo.
Not the same one. Maybe you need a couple of them.
Yeah. But anyway,
Someone asked in the chat if you've ever been to the reptile house in Alice Springs, Australia.
Is that? I wonder if they're talking about the. In Alice Springs. No, I haven't. That's that's in the middle of the country where Ayers Rock is. No, I haven't been there.
Is Alice Springs? I wonder if that's that place where they would go to find water pythons and.
No, so Alice Springs is right dead center in the middle of the country. It's right in the middle of the outback,
where no one goes, right?
Tourists go there for Ayers Rock, and I mean, there's really cool. There's pine cone skinks out there. There's
but that's the hardest area of the country to go to, correct?
No, you can fly in.
Okay.
You can fly into Alice Springs, yeah. But the pythons are further north than that. And there's pythons out there, but most of the pythons seem to be in the northern part of the country.
Mm-hmm.
Which is the exact opposite. The northern part of their country is the warmest. Southern part of our country is the warmest.
And now I've heard the roads and stuff like that, and cars that you rent, and there's issues with how far you're going out or restrictions on where you can go.
There's a lot of restrictions about driving in the outback.
Mm.
Yeah.
And that's just because they wouldn't be able to get you back, or
yeah. Well, no, that's because the kangaroos. So if unless you have special kangaroo insurance, you cannot take a rental car into the outback.
Stop. Wait. There is special Kangaroo insurance?
It's collision insurance that you need to have on your rental car. They will not let you drive in the Outback because you are guaranteed, and I mean guaranteed,
to hit
a kangaroo out in the Outback. Guaranteed. We hit 2 of them and demolished our rental car.
Whoa.
Yep.
Were you in a kangaroo insurance zone or
no? We were not. We did not know about the insurance.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's nuts.
Hit 2 of them. Well, some of my older vlogs from last year. Go back and look at my vlogs, and you'll see we hit a kangaroo. I think that might have been the first one that we hit, but then we hit another one, and I mean, just absolutely messed up the car.
You're driving like a Honda Civic or something.
What's funny is when we returned the car, we were honest. And we said, well, we hit 2 kangaroos, but we got the added insurance. She says, no, you need the special, kangaroo insurance. And I said, well, what happens if we don't have that? She goes, you owe us a new car. and I said, well, what is the insurance that we do have cover? She goes, oh, if you hit a tree, we hit a tree. And so they wrote on the paper.
Let's change it.
They wrote on the paperwork that we hit a tree. Yeah.
That is wild.
Yeah. So anyway, Australia stories.
So what have you found more specifically, I guess, as far as carpets go? Have you found like things like an olive python or a water python or liasis or Morelia? What have you found besides, I mean, we hit diamonds a little bit, but
found a 9-foot scrub python my first trip out there. I'm going to have to look at my notes. Spotted pythons, Macklot's pythons, children's pythons, jungle carpets, and of course coastal carpets, black-headed pythons. List goes on. But I mean, pythons are common out there. I mean, they're just really common snakes.
All the stuff you want.
Right. I mean, so what are blackhead python? I don't even know what they go for anymore. What are they like?
Oh, still over 100. Still over 1,000. Yeah.
Okay, so let's say they're $2,000, $2,500. Okay, so we saw 8 roadkills.
Whoa.
In just one little stretch of road. So there's like what, $10,000-$15,000 worth of roadkill on the road.
Is it the western form or the eastern form?
It was the western.
Okay, yeah, that's the one I want.
I'd be putting.
Again, I'm gonna have to.
That in my purse. That would be going. Like I don't know how I turn that down. I want one.
Or else you're in
jail. God, that's crazy. $15,000 worth of roadkill over here.
Yeah.
Driving over it.
But then again, if someone from Australia comes over here, they're like, "Holy shit, there's a Texas rat snake or something."
Yeah, that's
That's right. Or a corn snake. They go to the Everglades and see a roadkill corn snake. They're going to feel the same way I did seeing a black-headed python dead.
Mm-hmm. So what's your favorite native snake that you've found so far? Or something that's elusive and you kind of just liked finding it?
That's a really good question. I would have to think about that for a long time because nothing really... There's a lot of things that jump out. But finding my first timber, for instance...
Yeah. There's something about a rattlesnake in the wild, no matter what it is.
Yeah, after this interview is over, I'll think about, I should have said this one. But I don't know. That's a really good question. I would think it would, maybe my first corn snake in the wild, just because I had worked with those for, 2 decades, and that was the first one that I saw in the wild. But yeah, every snake that I see in the wild that's a lifer is an awesome find. So nothing really jumps out as like, oh my God, and then we found this and it was awesome, so yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't answer your question very well.
That's all right. I haven't even found a corn snake in the wild, which I
know that'd be cool.
When we moved to Pennsylvania, I think I want to go to the Pine Barrens, and I'd love to find.
That's one place that I want to herp.
The triple threat. What is it? The pine, the corn, or the
pine snake, the corn snake, and the coastal milk snake.
Who's ever do people do that often?
I'm sure. I'm sure. But there's a lot of other cool stuff in the, it all depends on what you're looking for. I mean, I don't know if I got that trifecta right. There could be somebody from New Jersey watching this going, that's not the trifecta.
Well, there's like Eastern Milks or whatever.
Right.
Or black rats. That's what you use.
I mean,
black
we have
rats, exactly.
3 different types of snakes in one herping period. Yeah, our herpings.
Well, we're lucky enough to have the copperhead down here, though.
Yeah, we found that and a garter snake. That's it, right? We've had very crappy herping luck, but
nah, we do all right.
All we found is copperheads and a garter snake. That's crappy.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Oh, there's my ceiling again.
Okay, so as our last question, I have a curveball for you.
Curveball.
That one of our dedicated fans has kind of made this our tradition. He won't give it up, so I'm just gonna ask it.
But you better answer it right, or else there's gonna be flack to be had.
Yeah, except
all right. Hang on, let me get my phone straight. Okay, let me have it.
What is your favorite pizza topping?
You guys are going to think I'm so boring.
Oh, no. Okay, good.
No, good. I like boring.
Pepperoni.
Thank you. Thank you. Everyone else, get out of here. You take pepperoni or nothing. Fold the pizza, eat it like a normal person.
But I am starting to like pineapple and ham.
No, you're not.
You ruined it. Take it back. Take it back.
So good. So good.
Anchovies, pineapples, mushrooms, wrong answers. Pineapples, mushrooms, wrong answers.
Except Brandon Fowler agrees with you. Brandon loves this pineapple. Which
he's from California. That's a West Coast pizza, I guess.
You think?
Well, Brandon and I will go get ham and pineapple pizza next time I'm out there.
But okay. I wish I could thank you a million times over for dealing with this episode.
My pleasure. Through the technical difficulties, the bloody noses, that is weird. No, it was fun. It was fun. And then my phone died.
By far the weirdest podcast episode we've
Our apartment is on an
had.
Indian burial ground, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So my pleasure, guys.
And if people want to get into you or find you where can they find you?
YouTube, Dave Kaufman's Reptile Adventures. Just go to YouTube and search in Dave Kaufman, DAV Kaufman.
With a little thing.
They don't even need to make the long A accent anymore. Yeah.
What do you call that, by the way?
On YouTube search. I don't know what it's called. I've been spelling my name that literally all my life. I started when I was like in 2nd grade or something like that.
Huh. Cool.
So, if I see my name spelled DAVE, my brain won't recognize that they're talking about me.
And do you...
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I've just been spelling it that way all my life.
What? People call you Dav, don't they?
Only my friends making fun of me, but the problem is that other people hear them call me that and think that's how you pronounce it.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's become kind of an epidemic.
Oh god.
But it is Dave.
We will make it sure everyone knows it is Dave.
Dave.
Awesome. All right, guys, it's dinner time for me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Pleasure to be on, guys.
Portcitypythons.com for us.
Yes.
That's pretty much it.
Portcitypythons.
If you guys are
Instagram,
still
Facebook.
here, like
You're
amazing. Because
bye.
Later.
See ya.